Every year in December, it can be common for some of us to think about those who may not be as fortunate as we are. It's an unfortunate reality of our world. Food banks are one community resource, but they can't work to address the problem without help. But what does this have to do with railroading? Well, for those of us along the system, Canadian Pacific has, since 1999, ran a specially decorated holiday train raising money and food donations for local food pantries along the line. According to CP, since the program launched in 1999, they've helped raise over $21 million and 5 million pounds of food. CP runs two versions of the holiday train. Train 01H stays entirely in Canada and runs from Montreal to Vancouver. Train 02H operates in both the US and Canada, starting in Maine and hitting New York, before running across Montreal, Toronto, and Windsor. It then uses trackage rights from Detroit to Chicago, and here in Illinois will stop in Bensenville, Pingree Grove, Byron, and Savannah. The following Thursday it also stops in Gurnee before heading towards Minneapolis, and eventually back up into Canada. The whole appearance lasts about 45 minutes to an hour. The train arrives, crews set up, and two performers play music for about a half hour from a boxcar. The crews then pack everything back up, and it rolls on to the next location. Although, here in Bensenville, it will stay here for the night. We headed to Bensenville, and it was absolutely packed even an hour before showtime. The train parks on the tail track immediately adjacent to Tower B-17. I took the first parking spot I could find, and even still, it filled in around me extremely quickly. I didn't film too much of the show, well, because it was dark, but both performers, JoJo Mason and Lindsay Ell, were very good from what I could hear. I was a bit far away and off to the side, so the speakers weren't really aimed in my direction. I actually ended up leaving just before the show ended, and that turned out to be a good decision. Traffic leaving the area was awful for at least an hour after the train pulled back out. After the performances, the train headed east to be turned back and face west. I'm not actually sure where they turned it since Bensenville doesn't have a Y. I suppose it could have run all the way into Tower A5, but I honestly don't know. It was staged overnight in Bensenville's West Yard. Speaking of, this picture is from my phone, so it's not great, but notice this dwarf signal protecting a track that isn't connected to anything. The west side of Bensenville Yard is going through dramatic reconfiguration, and much of the trackage here is being removed. This signal remains in service with Tower B-17, though. This used to be the Diesel House lead. Most of the buildings were torn down years ago, but portions of the former Milwaukee Road engine facility, like the turntable, survived in use until earlier this year when it was removed and donated, and now most of that land is the foundation for the ongoing Interstate 490 project. I believe CP does locomotive service on the east end of the yard somewhere now. The following morning, the plan is to roll down to Roselle as early as I can and try and get it on the move. 252 has been fairly regularly coming in between 7 and 8, so I may be able to get it too. I wake up around 5, and unfortunately around 5:30 hear 252 getting clearance into the yard, so that's not happening. About 6:15, 02H starts getting PTC set up with the Elgin dispatcher, and because it's PTC, it's not going smoothly. By the dawn's early light, I head out the house about 7. It's scheduled to arrive in Pingree Grove about 8:45, so I doubt it would leave Bensenville any after 7:30. As I arrive in Roselle, it's running the final brake test before departure, and it calls B-17 about 7:15 and gets the light. There was an inbound Metra 2702 at 7:17 here at Roselle, but it was about 20 degrees outside without wind chill, so you'll just have to imagine what it looked like. If you've seen a Metra, it looked like that. Finally, about 7:45, it rolls through Medina and up to Roselle. Note the video here is going to be extremely shaky. It was windy, and I was shaking just about as much as the tripod that was holding it, so holding it really wouldn't have helped. Sorry about that. And with that, it heads west through the myriad of problematic signals for Pingree Grove. It'll end up in Muscatine, Iowa today and Kansas City tomorrow. Although the train is neat to look at, I think it's important to remember the point behind it and keep those who aren't as fortunate as we may be in mind and do what we can to try and help. People need help all year long, not just in December. I just want to thank you all for a great year here on the channel. It's a lot of fun to put these together for you, and although the videos may slow down here in the winter months, I want to keep them coming. You can follow me on Instagram and read the blog, which I really need to write something new for. Whoopsie. From Frozen Roselle, and until next time, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year, or Happy whatever it is you celebrate. And as always, thank you for watching the Northeastern Illinois Railfan YouTube channel.